It was the summer of 2012 when Jake, his girlfriend Mia, and their two best friends, Sam and Rachel, decided to take a road trip through the remote mountain roads of Colorado. The group was excited to explore the winding paths, dense forests, and breathtaking vistas. They packed their old van with camping gear, snacks, and a playlist of road trip songs, eager to make memories that would last a lifetime. But some memories linger for all the wrong reasons. The trip started like any other. The group laughed, sang along to their favorite songs, and stopped occasionally to take photos of the scenic beauty. By the time they reached a remote stretch of road late in the afternoon, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the asphalt. That was when they saw her. A young woman stood by the side of the road, her pale skin almost glowing in the fading light. She wore a tattered white dress and clutched a small bag to her chest. Her long dark hair obscured most of her face, but what little they could see looked gaunt and tired. "Should we stop?" Mia asked hesitantly. Jake, who was driving, shrugged. "It's getting dark. She might need help." Rachel wasn't convinced. "She could be dangerous. You've heard the stories." But Sam, ever the good Samaritan, chimed in. "Come on, Rachel. She's just one person. We can't leave her out here alone." Reluctantly, Rachel agreed. Jake pulled the van over and the woman approached slowly, her movements almost mechanical. When she reached the passenger window, Mia rolled it down just enough to speak. "Do you need a ride?" Mia asked. The woman nodded. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Please, just to the next town." The group shuffled their belongings to make room for her in the back seat. She climbed in without a word, clutching her bag tightly. The air inside the van grew noticeably colder and an uneasy silence settled over them. Jake tried to break the tension. So, what's your name?" The woman's lips barely moved. "Lila." "Where are you headed, Lila?" Sam asked. She hesitated before answering. "Home." No one pressed her further. Something about her demeanor made them uneasy. Mia kept glancing back at Lila, who stared straight ahead, her eyes fixed on something unseen. The van's cheerful atmosphere had evaporated, replaced by an oppressive unease. About 30 minutes into the drive, Lila suddenly spoke. Her voice was low and urgent. "Turn off this road." Jake frowned. "What? Why?" "It's not safe," she said, her tone flat but insistent. "There's a detour up ahead. Take it." Rachel's skepticism flared. "How do you know?" "We haven't seen any signs." Lila's eyes met Rachel's for the first time, and the intensity in her gaze made Rachel shiver. "You have to trust me." Against his better judgment, Jake decided to follow her advice. A few miles later, they came across a narrow dirt road marked by an old, barely visible sign indicating a detour. He turned onto it, and the group continued in tense silence. As they drove deeper into the forest, the sun disappeared completely, leaving them enveloped in darkness. The van's headlights illuminated the dense trees on either side, their gnarled branches casting eerie shadows. Suddenly, the van's engine sputtered and died. Jake cursed under his breath as he tried to restart it, but the engine refused to turn over. "Great," Rachel muttered. "This is how horror movies start." Sam and Jake got out to check under the hood, while Mia and Rachel stayed inside with Lila. The air was unnaturally still, and the faint rustling of leaves sounded deafening in the silence. "This doesn't feel right," Mia whispered. Rachel nodded, her eyes darting toward Lila, who sat motionless, staring out the window. "She's creeping me out." Outside, Jake and Sam found nothing visibly wrong with the engine. They were about to head back inside when Jake's flashlight beam caught something in the trees. He froze. "Sam," he whispered. "Do you see that?" Hanging from the branches were dozens of crude, handmade dolls, their bodies fashioned from sticks and cloth. Some had human hair. Others had faces painted in blood. The two men backed away slowly, their breaths quickening. "We need to get out of here," Jake said, his voice shaking. When they returned to the van, they found Mia and Rachel in a state of panic. Lila was gone. "She just disappeared," Mia cried. "We looked away for 1 second and she was gone." The group's fear reached a fever pitch. Jake tried the engine again, and this time it roared to life. They sped down the dirt road, desperate to put as much distance as possible between them and whatever they had stumbled upon. Hours later, they finally reached a small town and checked into a motel. Exhausted and shaken, they decided to report the incident to the local authorities. When they described Lila to the sheriff, his expression turned grim. "You're not the first to pick her up," he said. "Lila was a local girl who went missing on that stretch of road over a decade ago. She was last seen hitchhiking. Her body was never found, but there's been plenty of strange activity in those woods ever since." The group stared at him in stunned silence. The sheriff continued, "Consider yourselves lucky. Most people who see her don't make it out of those woods." Jake, Mia, Sam, and Rachel never spoke of the incident again. The road trip that was supposed to be a fun adventure became a haunting memory they could never escape. To this day, they're not sure what Lila was trying to warn them about. But they're certain of one thing: some roads are better left untraveled and some passengers are better left behind.